Let's go. I'll probably try to read your lips somewhere inside the presentation. So let me say once again, thank you so much for having me. It's always a privilege for me to to be a part of these sessions. And like you said, we met, maybe a couple years ago, and the relationship has grown since. And I so appreciate the fact that you always you remember me and you remember our organization. So, like you would have said before, I am Camille Greenwich Charles. I am presently an educator, beauty culture instructor at Servol in Point Fortin. And I have been in the beauty industry for maybe the past 32 years or so. It's just a passion. It's something that I became really interested in as a child. And eventually it stayed with me maybe until teenage years. I did go through secondary school. I went to Superior Junior and Superior Senior. I did not do cosmetology and beauty culture in school, in secondary school. I did sciences. And I guess maybe there was a reason for that, because I was always interested in mixing colors. I was the one who would get in trouble for having color in my hair in school, because I would be mixing, using kite paper and mixing peroxide and food coloring and so on, and trying to color my hair. And I mean, I think the rest is history. I would have been called to the dean's office several times. Miss Greenwich, why do you have color in your hair? You're not abiding by the school rules. And, presently, even when I meet some of my past teachers, they always say to me, okay, now we get it. It was clear. It was evident why, And I must say, attending Superior Junior and Senior, it was a catalyst for me, because I was exposed. We had that opportunity, even though, like I said, I didn't really pursue it in secondary school, but we had the opportunity, unlike some of the other learning institutions, we actually had an opportunity to do skills training from that point. So for those who probably attend the junior and senior secondary schools, and even some of the 5 and 7 year schools, well, we no longer consider them junior and senior secondary schools, but at that time it was. So I would consider them to be very fortunate. I think I was very fortunate. And immediately after school, they had just started the program called YTEP. So when I would have finished CXC, YTEP was just recently introduced in Trinidad. And I was fortunate to be one of the students who would have been one of the first in that first batch of students who would have done beauty culture for YTEP. And for me, it was amazing. It was so interesting to know that, the field is so wide, simply because a lot of times people think beauty culture or cosmetology just deals with hair. So when somebody says to you they are cosmetologists, you tend to think, also you're a hairdresser or you're doing hairdressing. And that was one of the stigmas associated. And I say stigma simply because at that point in time, my parents really wanted me to pursue academics. And one of my parents was kind of disappointed when I decided to go into that field, because, it was probably thought at that point in time, why do you want to do that? Why don't you did sciences in school. Why do you want to become a beautician? Can you make money as a beautician? And the other parent was very supportive. Okay, if this is your passion, then go ahead. So bearing that in mind, I decided to do the other. And the rest is basically history. From there, I would have done several courses after that YTEP course. I would have done some advanced training in barbering and hairstyling and so on. And yes, barbering, simply because I wanted to come out of that stigma where, again, they think that cosmetology just deals with nails and hair and lipstick and eyeshadow. And at that point in time, a lot of men, you know, started to come into that beauty industry, some as barbers and some as hairstylists. And the rest is history. I've been an instructor for the past 11 years. Prior to that, I would have had my own salon. I would have had 2 salons. I would have worked in Trinidad and abroad, mainly hairstyling and so on. But generally, I would practice the entire cosmetology outline that includes hair, skin, and nails.
Okay, excellent, excellent, excellent. So we had before us someone that spoke in terms of the industry, in terms of the hair and the nails and the day-to-day run-ins and everything like that, which I know we said 32 years. So given that, and you also mentioned that given everything with your academics, one parent wants you to go one way and the next parent wants you to go in terms of the field of the academics, and one was very supportive. What would you tell a student, or what advice would you give to a student that is in the same position or maybe in the same position, that they want to get into the cosmetology industry, but their parents may not support it?
I'm so sorry. For some reason, are you hearing me?
I'm hearing you, yes. Are you hearing me?
Are you hearing me still?
But are you hearing me though?
Great. So I didn't quite get your last, was it a question?
Yes. But are you hearing me clearly? Okay, so what I would do, I would type it in the chat.
I am so sorry, I'm not hearing.
I'll type it in the chat.
Okay, could you give me 1 second? Okay, I'm hearing the both of somebody is saying they're hearing both of us. Okay, but I am not hearing.
Okay, I'm not sure. It may not be the volume.
1 second.
Volume is up. Okay, so students, you can go ahead and ask your questions. So you go to the chat again, and you click on students ask questions here, and you type your questions. Okay, so students, you can go ahead and answer questions, for the questions by the time that we give, as we give Ms. Greenwich that time just to check her volume. Are you hearing me now?
It's very, very soft.
Okay.
Very, very soft. So
the question.
Okay, at this point, do I have, is there anybody want to ask any questions? I don't know if you just asked a question, because like I said, I wasn't hearing very well. So if you could repeat it, let me see if I can hear.
The question is, what advice would you give to a student who is in the same position as you, where parents are not supportive of them choosing to get into the field of cosmetology?
Oh, good. So the way I dealt with it, it really has to be a case of you proving that this is really a passion and not just a by the way, because a lot of times as teenagers, as a teenager, I was told, you'll change your mind pretty soon, you know, at 17, 18, maybe 16, they tend to think parents somehow, I'm a parent now, so I'm saying that they tend to think you're not too decisive, you're not too sure of what you want. So my advice would be, or what I would have done, was to actually prove and be consistent. If this is what you really want and this is your passion, be consistent and get them involved. If they could be a part of what you're doing. So what I started to do was actually roller set my mom's hair. So, and I would help her, okay, if she would spend X amount of dollars at the hairstylist every month or every 2 weeks, I would say, Mommy, here what, this month or this week, do you trust me enough to let me do your hair this week or let me do your hair this month? When she discovered that she could save that money, it was a given. Even with my sisters and whatever, eventually they started trusting me. It wasn't just Camille experimenting anymore, because they actually saw that I was very consistent with what I was doing. I did a lot of research. At that point in time, we didn't have the internet, we didn't have Wi-Fi. So what I would have done, I would have gone to the library and I would have gotten magazines. At that point in time, it would have been Essence magazines, Bazaar, all these different magazines that they would have had long time. I don't know if they still have it because we have Pinterest and YouTube now. But and I would go through those magazines and look at different styles, different techniques, how people would function in other parts of the world. And so they always saw that I was interested. And the turning point for me was one time there was a newspaper called the Heat newspapers. I don't think we have it anymore in Trinidad. So by now, you're all probably trying to guess my age. But anyway, there was the Heat newspapers at that point, and we don't have that newspaper anymore. And they sent out a article saying that they were having this model search and they were looking for models. And guess what? I applied and I went to the Heat, to that audition to be a model. And when I got there, when I got into my first change of clothing, somebody asked me who did my hair and who did my makeup. And I told them, well, I did. And then one of the editors came to me and said, listen, the makeup artist and the hairstylist bailed on us. And we do not have anybody to style and do the other models. And that day I went from being a model to the makeup artist and hairstylist for the Heat model search. And I think, when my parents saw she was on newspapers, she was on the news, I was only 17 going on 18 at that point in time. So I was the youngest makeup artist and hairstylist that they had for that model search. And I think, that was like a turning point when they realized that, okay, she is serious about this and, it's not just a game. So if you really are interested and your parents, they're having second thoughts, they're wondering if it should be a career, I would say just, it may take some effort, but you can include them and show them how this could be lucrative. You can make it a career. You can make money, because believe you me, the beauty industry is one where you can make money. And also there are so many other avenues. It doesn't just necessarily have to be a hairstylist or a nail tech or a makeup artist. There's so many other aspects or career opportunities. You could actually be someone who works in newspapers. You could actually do articles and so on concerning beauty and fashion and that kind of thing. So persistence and be consistent if this is really your passion. And include your parents, show them how, let them know why this is your passion as well.
Excellent advice. And I think that is something that has been coming out throughout this sector, throughout the evening, in the sense of having that passion, having that discipline, being consistent, right? So those are some of the values. I'm going to try to talk a little bit louder so yeah, you can hear me clearly. those are some of the values and the traits coming out if it is you want to get into this industry. And it's interesting that you mentioned you being the youngest makeup artist at 17, because we have questions coming in, and one student wants to know if 12 years old is too young to be a nail tech.
Say if 12 years old is too young,
yes,
you're never too young. Like I said, I would have started experimenting at a very early age. I was in junior secondary school, and I remember when I was on the debate team. So junior secondary school would be from 12 to 13. So I would have been about 13 years old. And I was on the debate team. We were having public speaking, actually. And because I know that they said that we were going to be on TV against other schools, I went home that evening. And I went to the drugstore and I bought a bottle of peroxide. Now, I didn't know at the time that it was the wrong thing. And I'm not advocating that anybody do these kinds of experiments, no. But I went home and I used the peroxide to try and lift my hair color. And I took some orange kite paper and I remember rubbing it into my hair. And my hair was orange by the nighttime. When I set my hair, my hair was orange. And I was so adamant about being on TV with this orange piece of hair in front of my head for people to ask me, who did your hair? And I remember my teacher being so mad. They wanted to turn me down from going to public speaking, but I was one of the only other ones who they could have actually taken to do it. And at that point in time, I remember one of my teachers telling me, Camille, you're going to be something in beauty, because you always, is like, at that point in time, people would see it as making mischief. But I'll tell you what, if it is really a passion and you notice it from a tender age 10, age 11, age 12, I wouldn't say it's too young. And also it depends on the aspect of cosmetology or the field that this child is interested in. If it's makeup, if it's hairstyling, well, you just said hairstyling. So if it's chemical work, of course, it would have to be, if you are really interested, you would have to get some kind of professional training, even from that age. Especially if you have chemical work to do and stuff.
Okay, so it was.
But no, I won't say 12 is too young at all.
Okay, so are you hearing me a bit clearer now? Because I'm seeing the frown on your face in terms of your expression. So just as because we're running out of time, what I would ask you to do for some of our students listening is just to tell us a little bit about the program at Servol, how our students could apply, what it's like, how long the program takes, and yes, and well, along that line.
Could you repeat the last thing you said?
But if it is, you could tell our students about the programs at Servol in cosmetology, how they apply, how long the program is, and the journey, what qualifications they may need to have to enter the program at Servol. Okay.
I really did not get the last thing you said.
Okay, that's okay. So if are you hearing me now?
I'm sorry if I come closer to if you see me really close to the camera so that I can hear.
That's okay. It's just to tell our students about the programs at Servol.
Right. So the requirements, is it you want to know about the requirements at Servol?
Yes.
Okay. So Servol, as if for those of you who don't know, it is skills training. We start the program, whatever skills training you would want to do, if it is beauty culture. Before you enter skills training, you have to go through a program, a 3-month program called ADP. It's called the Adolescent Development Program. And that program, it's like an introduction to whatever base or whatever skills training you want to do. So if you want to do dental, home health aid, childcare, beauty culture, graphics, anything, you must do that ADP training to enter. On entering, once you pass that training program and you enter your skill, the beauty culture skill runs for 3 terms. On entering, you have to go through 3 different levels. Your junior level, which would be considered, how should I put it? In terms of forms, you would have to go through a form or a level 1, a level 2, and level 3. It's called your junior term, your intermediate term, and your senior term. At the end of your senior term is where you would do your assessment or your exams. And
at 4 o'clock, and we are already at the final half hour, the final segment. Time just goes by so quick. So thank you so very much for all of your time. And we're going to jump straight into our final session, where we will be hosting Miss Leica Maloney. She has her school, which is called Nail Tech Esquadronary. Is that it? Am I saying it correctly, Miss Maloney?
Yes, you're saying it perfectly.
Right. So take us through